Chicago's longtime literary activist Marie Kuda was celebrated recently at a joint birthday party and the 15th anniversary reunion of the Lesbian Writers Conference.
We had an opportunity to share in the festivities and to talk to Marie about her own coming out process and her thoughts on the state of lesbian literature.
This evening we're celebrating not only your birthday, but the 15th reunion of the Lesbian Writers Conference. Now, we heard a bit about how that gets started. In fact, we are also hearing stories by people who have recollections. I want to go a little bit farther back in your past and ask you, how did you come out?
How? When?
When?
Why? Well, I think I've been gay without knowing what that meant, or lesbian without knowing what it meant all my life. I can remember as a child having women-oriented everything, never been interested in little boys except as competitors. But I didn't get interested, if you mean coming out in the movement, until the late 60s. I alluded to that. It was in connection with a relationship I was having with a woman. Got in touch with the Mattachine organization, and through them realized that there were lots of other gay people out there, and a lot of them were women, and that they didn't know their history, and I didn't know their history. I graduated with a degree in literature and had read probably 2 women novelists. So I spent the next 20 years trying to track and share what I found with other women.
And you founded Women Press as a result.
Early on, because of the Lesbian Writers Conferences, mostly to get out the information that we had gleaned and share that with other women, I founded a small press, and like many other women that founded small presses, found it was a losing business. Publishing in this country is in the hands of not only men anymore, but corporations and conglomerates, and they take publishing the losing end of it as a write-off for their taxes.
And yet we're able to celebrate tonight something that was very, very vital, and women's fiction is still being published. And in fact, I wonder, you're the perfect person to let me know how should we be supporting lesbian literature today?
Well, there was a time in the mid-70s when we had hoped to create some kind of a women's economic network where women who were writers could then go to women presses and have them printed, and go to women publishers and have them published. They'd be sold in women's bookstores. And I think that kind of fantasy died a little bit. We have some of the stores, we have some of the books, we have some of the writers, but we never were able to create that economic network. For the future, I think the mainstream will co-opt us to a certain degree as we are saleable. They've done that already in terms of biographies. Hardly a biography of any woman that had a relationship with another woman comes out without it being screamed that she was a lesbian. Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, Virginia Woolf, you name it, whoever.
Is the mainstream using us more now and publishing more of our fiction and biographies now?
Oh, sure, but then they put their criteria on it. For instance, when Daughters Press bought out Rita Mae Brown's Ruby Fruit Jungle, it went through 11 printings, 90,000 copies, okay? The mainstream press decides that's too much money to be going in those directions. So they bring out 3.5 million copies. You buy it in your supermarket and every place else. Sure, they co-opt you. The next books that Rita Mae Brown brings out are less and less, I think, lesbian content. That's no reflection on her, but it shows what's marketable. And if you want to play the game by the big boys' rules, Valerie Taylor, who was at the writers' conferences in the old days, told us when she was given a book, they had to have sex by page so-and-so. When you came to the end of the book, the lesbian had to either be run over by a car or go off on the arms of a big stud or whatever, or you wouldn't get published. And the rules are more subtle now, but they're still there. So when you go to the mainstream presses, that's what's going to happen.